limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. We Rick flaring on it. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. Yeah, we Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. It's apparent these girls staring. I'm Rick flaring, gold across my chest. I'm fresh to death. I'm Paul Bearing, not at all scary. One eye open like Betty Wops and find to these circles that's going in like a carry shot. Woo! I'm going in like a Mary Pop off that Mary Crop at the top flow at the Marriott. So questioning me is like questioning you. See, we the best dressed, so come and get blessed with the crew. Not one but two, different ways to slaughter your crew. Committed tat across the chest, I guess she blessed with the truth. People want to see them checks, representation of proof. Living through my elders, trying to resonate to the youth. But ain't nothing to get my flash on. Longevity is heavily embedded in my melanin. Layman terms, I last long. My grind repetitive, I'm smoother than real silk. Lyrical cash cow who can't cry over spilled milk. We in here. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. To the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. This ain't no normal situation, this preparation with greatness. Industry full of fakeness, it's really up for the taking. See, life is what happened to you, more so how you take it. Don't get stripped of your knowledge and mentally leave you naked. I like to live otherwise. I'm sorry that I'm fresh to death. I put the polo and apologize. See, black son, we ain't nothing like the mother guys. Quit to socialize, we organize, then we mobilize. Off the deep end like a scuba diver. And no confusion, just keep it pushing like Uber drivers. Woo! Business fresh just like a supervisor in a Gucci visor. Can't find a smoother rhymer. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it. We Rick flaring on it, flaring on it.
Yeah, DQ baby. Shout out that boy Nigga for that fire track. Hey, Black Sun, sun up. What's up, Vinny Vegas? What in Vegas? Yeah. Shout out Pharaoh's Kids, D-Phase. Yeah. Bubba C. Yeah. Rick flaring on him. Rick flaring on him. Rick flaring on him. Rick flaring, son up, baby.
Hey, yo, Scotty, you going crazy for this one. We see what you're doing, we salute you. Hey, let's get it started. It's Backpack Capital One. What's in your wallet? Got a call from my man A. Scott. I said I got it. Love that you highlighting all of these black colleges. Try to pay me for doing this. Look, bruh, if you don't get off my line with that foolishness, voice of the swag, pull up where you at. No cap if the Brody is speaking the soft facts. My advice, tune in to every show. Captain Petty, but we know that the sergeant is with the smoke.
Okay, I won't deny the people what they came here for. I've been getting all the messages I received, and everybody is telling me
it's about to go down.
It's about to go down. But first, please make sure you like the stream and everything possible. All right, listen, you know the like police is never too far. But please give it up for my guest today, the one and only Hugh Jackson. What's up, Coach?
What's going on, Scotty? You the man. I love this show. Thank you for everything you do. Obviously, it's been a day, but hey,
it has.
God is good.
Always. Oh, he ain't never changing. and never changing. I love that.
Well, Scotty, if you will allow me to, there's a lot of things I want to say, a lot of things I want to really dive into, but I can't do it. Now, I like to do things the right way. And first, I got to thank the university, Grambling State University, Rick Gallo, Dr. Scott, and all the upper level administration for the opportunity to coach at such a historic university. So, because that's important to me, because they gave me an opportunity. I got to thank my players, the players that allowed me to recruit them and coach them over the last couple of years. There's some tremendous young men there, and I'm thankful for that. I got to thank my donors. There's so many people that helped me in this process, from Bruce Darbon, G-Man Nation, AE Touch Technologies, Urban Edge Network, Hardy Pelt, Todd Brown, the Hugh Dat podcast with Marva, and all of my guests and speakers, my coaches who worked extremely hard for me, Dr. Dina Brown, who has a son that was on this team. She did so much for me. And also Kimberly Demert, George Stubbs, who was my acting DFO. So I can't thank those people enough for being really intertwined in this program. You know, and I think we all know programs can't be turned around in 2 years at institutions where funding is extremely inadequate, facilities, equipment, and training support, you know, are insignificant to spare. Institutional support is limited and opportunities are derailed at every turn. I think we all know that. But again, the lack of transparency, coordination, and collaboration will continue, in my opinion, to plague the HBCUs. You know, I'm not going to dive into that a ton, but we all know that those are the things that are issues, and those things got to be dealt with. You know, at the end of the day, people will only focus on the wins and losses, but I know for a fact my players, their families, the coaches know what we achieved. We were turning that program back into the monster that we all wanted to be, but that does take time. They know we had their back and who always gave their all to them. And I'm just grateful for the friendships that were developed, the lives that we were able to positively impact, and the attention that we were bringing to Grambling and to all the HBCUs. You know, I want nothing more than for my players to do well on and off the field, and I'm always going to support them. I know that every coach that I touched, you know, they learned a great deal, and I wish them continued growth in their process. And again, to all the supporters, fans, and alumni of Grambling, it was an honor. It truly was an honor to be part of such a historic institution. Grambling needs you. They need those people today. And they don't just need them today in this moment, but every day. They need their financial support as much as their emotional support, because without both, Grambling cannot be all that it has the potential to be. And I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. I want Grambling to be where it rightfully should be, and they just got to understand it's going to be a real process to get there.
Now, when you and Coach, I want to say thank you for your kind words for the institution and the people that you partake in building it. Now, when you say a process, how long do you think it would have taken you to get to where your aspirations for the program would have been in that process? Knowing everything that you know now, what timeline would you have given yourself?
You have to give it 3 years. When you come in the first year, you don't want to walk in and run all the players out. Mm-hmm. There were players that you needed to evaluate. There's players and families and people who are tied to an institution. Now, I'm not just talking about Grambling, I'm talking about any place that you need to make sure you understand the lay of the land. And I would have felt it was warranted if this year looked like the first year.
Absolutely.
So I think this year you can see the turning of the program. The culture was starting to change. The wins came a little bit more. There was a huge game that we lost down at Alcorn, 24-25, where I know for a fact it was told to me that there was a call that could have just changed the whole, season. Truth be told, that, shouldn't have been called against us, but you lose that game And it created to me a little, the all of a sudden the team felt a little bit differently, and we went backwards after that a little bit, and just being very transparent. But then you have to grab them back, and I think we started to grab ourselves back. You saw a new quarterback come in, you saw new players come in, you saw things happening, whether it was defense early to them improving at the end to offense really starting out hot, getting kind of cool. And that's what happens in football, contrary to what people think. But you could see that the building blocks were there. And next year's team, to me, with everybody returning, it was going to be the best offense in the conference. It was going to be one of the better defenses in the conference. When I see one of the young defensive linemen was named, all freshman All-American.
Yeah.
You have the young receiver who is newcomer of the year. So the recruiting piece of it was happening at the right rate. And so I think it was really ready to take off. But, everybody has their opinions about why, and everybody wants to compare it to whether other coaches or other things or this or that. But people got to understand, for sustainability, if you want to build something for sustainability, it takes time. It does not happen overnight. It takes the right coaches. We were going through that process. I mean, it's a lot that go into it for you to get it to where you need it to be.
Absolutely. And just the caveat of what you're saying, earlier today in his press conference, he did say, and I quote, we were 1 or 2 plays away from being an 8 to 9 win team. And that was by Dr. Travion Scott, the AD. So to me, when the AD can see that, when you have elaborated on that, the changing of the guard in year 2 in a team that I thought was super talented. I'm talking about Antonio Jones, a freshman, Chalk, Lamborghini, sophomores, and Miles Crawley going to be a senior, his first year starting as a quarterback for a whole season. There's so much outlook. There's so much optimism. I just didn't understand the changing of the guard at this point in time. Did he give you a reason why?
Well, no. I mean, I think they didn't think the progress probably was happening fast enough. And to me, I mean, they're going to make their choices and decisions, and I can't, you're not going to fight those things. That is their decision. But I think what you just described is what it is, and that's how you get to being. So you have to, I think every program have to make a decision. How are you building? Are you building with young players? Or you're going to build through the portal or transfers, whatever that is. And I think it's a combination of both. And it takes time to get that mix right. But once you create the formula, then you have it in place where it can go. And I think that's what nobody understood. We had to create the right mix. And then once you create the mix, you have to put it's still taking a group of men and putting them together and creating the right environments on campus and off campus to give them the best chance to be successful. So again, I have no hard feelings because I was given an opportunity. It didn't happen as fast as they wanted. I get that. That doesn't make me a bad coach. That don't make me, because the last time I checked, this offense is starting to take off.
Yeah.
Just like I thought it would. But they have to do what they have to do. And I have to respect that.
No, and I get that. Now let's go back to go forward. The Bayou Classic. You're 0-2. I said Chalk should have been the MVP of both of those because, I mean, literally, he was a one-man band. Can you talk to us about the goal line stand, the 4 plays in the goal line, and how that came about? And is it why the shotgun 4 consecutive times, with the Eagles and the quarterback sneak being such a hot thing, right, with the push in the back, taking the ball out of Chalk's hand on the 3rd down, and then the final play in the goal line. Can you speak to those?
Well, yes, I can. First, let me say this. There was so many plays in that game, and I think the players will be first to tell you after they've watched the tape that it really shouldn't have come down to that. But that's what happens with young players. When you have players who haven't been in that situation, those things do happen. Let me say this. I'm the head coach. I have veto power. I have go-to power. There was a time there, and not to make excuses, where the headsets did not work. And they went in and out. And there was a time I wasn't sure exactly what we were doing, and so I take full responsibility for that all. Wish I could do that all over again. And I think we would have had a different outcome, but I didn't. So I have to live with that and own that as well. But there's no reason, as you said, to take the ball out of Chalk's hand. And there's no reason to be in certain situational things. But at the same time, that's not the reason why the game was lost. It looks like it at the end. But I guarantee you, if you talk to our players, they will tell you there's 5 to 6 to 7 other opportunities that should have been touchdowns to where it shouldn't have been in that situation. We shouldn't have been in that situation. So again, I own it, and I'll take responsibility for it.
Understood. Now, Coach, a lot of people want to know, are you open to still being coaching? Because from what
Absolutely. Come on.
Now,
Are you kidding me, Scotty? Listen, this is what I do. Scotty, I took an offense here as a first-year coach and watched it not be very good, was very disappointed because that's my signature. I took an offense with a new quarterback, new coordinator, and with some of the same coaches, and we rose. We didn't rise because all of a sudden I forgot what I was doing or how to do it. And then I tried to, help along the defense as much as I could. Well, that's the job of the head coach.
Yeah.
It's it everywhere. I mean, there was a kick that was blocked that I wish I could do over. I mean, there's so many things that I go back to, and I think people don't understand. You're talking about all these different hats, but you're also talking about all these things off the field that you have to be in charge of at the HBCUs. That's different than at the Power Fives. And so it's a little bit much. And like I said, until some of the fundings and those things get done better, those hats you wear could be significant. And you got to do those things better. And I think everybody understands that. And I wish the next head coach nothing but the best of luck. But at the same time, please understand that it's a little bit different than what maybe everybody think it is.
Well, I'm gonna go 2-part question for this one. One, would you be willing to go to another HBCU, and would you take Urban Edge with you? Because I know that was a huge avenue that you had, funding and things like that. And then my second part is, if you were telling another guy like yourself, another former Byron Leftwich, a Lovie Smith, anybody coming from the NFL to take an HBCU job, what would you advise them in that role?
First of all, if I can take Urban Edge with me, I'm going tomorrow. Because obviously they've been just instrumental in getting it to where it is today. I mean, what I know without question from players to people who are close to the program, I've left it better than what it was. And that's not anything to do with the past coach. And I know he won championships. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But better than what I found it.
Yeah,
and to me, that's the most important part. And all those people I named earlier had a lot to do with that. What I would say to any coach who has been to the highest level where I've been to come accept one of these jobs, you have to have the resources in place already. Because you are bound by NCAA rules as to what you can do and what you can't do. And you want to go in there and you want to fix it, but you just can't fix it the way you see fit. It has to be done the correct way. And if you step out of line, those are grounds for you not to be there as well. So I think it's so important that you do understand, and it's bigger than just practice and facilities. I'm talking about counseling. I'm talking about nutrition. I'm talking about all the things that these student athletes deal with on these campuses. And I'm going to say this, and some people might get disappointed by it. These student athletes on these campuses are facing many losses before they ever get to football. And to me, if you don't have those under control, when they do deal with football, you don't want to create more losses. So we're talking about then the facilities and nutrition and their opportunity for recovery, their opportunity for sports medicine help, training and that type of thing. Those are huge avenues to deal with where you don't deal with those things at the Power Five. So as I'm trying to build a team, I'm trying to put all these things also in place. And that takes time. That doesn't happen in a year. And sometimes that doesn't happen in 2 years. You have to have the patience. And if you're going to build something that's special, people got to understand you have to build. And you got to build. Like I said earlier, how are you going to build? You're going to build through young student athletes, because the thing that's happening now, a lot of the really good high school players are not getting the offers that they like. So if you take a young player, he might be okay for 40, 50 snaps, but maybe not 70 snaps. And so you have to weigh that and who's ready to play and play at a high level and who's not. And so then you go get the player from the portal, and maybe the environment just doesn't suit him right away, and he got to go find himself again. So there's a lot that go into it. And I'm not gonna, keep diving into that too deep, but I would say to everybody, please understand the situation. Please make sure the resources are there, because at the end of the day, you are going to get judged on wins and losses.
Facts.
Period. And so you have to understand that. And if that's not what you're after, and believe me, I came to Grambling to win championships. That's what I wanted to do. I just didn't think it needed. I think you do it over your time, right? And then when you and the athletic department or you and administration say, what does that look like? And then are we doing the things that we all set out to say we're going to do together? And then if that's the end game, then that's the end game. If that's not the end game, it's something else, then it's something else. And you just have to understand that.
I'm going to ask you an Eric Dooley question. Is there anything you would have done differently, in regards to you after you accepted a Grambling job and knowing what you know now? Is there anything you would have done differently in regards to how you structured the team, how you got the resources, maybe trying to implement resources before you get what I'm saying? Like anything you would have done a little bit differently, and a part two of that is coming after you answer that.
Yeah, I think there's several things. I think you hit it on the head. I think you got to get the resources up front. I probably would have came and seen it with my own eyes first and made sure that I understood what the lay of the land was everywhere. Everything that touched football, everything that football was involved in, I probably needed to see it first and foremost. And that's the first thing I would say to anybody. I think the second thing is I went to go secure the best coaches in the country in the beginning of this. And a lot of them left for better opportunities because they were going to be paid more money. They were going to have better opportunity for them and their families. And I get that. And that's the whole thing about this. You want to leave people better and put people in better situations when they go. And so you got to make sure that the staff is made up of enough people that can do a lot of different things, because you're going to have to ask them to do a lot of different things. And so, but you also have to be in a situation where whoever is going to bring you understand to have the best talented coaches, you're going to have to pay for them. Okay. Because if not, then you're going to have to go find those coaches in a different pond. My background and resources is through NFL coaches. I couldn't bring NFL coaches with me. I could not pay them. So these relationships that I have, if you just go check people that I hired, John Simon, I coached him. That's how I knew John. Kenny Delgado has been with me since we go way back. Nobody else that I hired did I know.
Oh, wow. I
had to take recommendations from others to hire those coaches, and that's not putting them down. That's just that's
what the situation was.
Relationships and people, and people bring up Art Browse. Well, I knew Art Browse. I coached Art Browse players. I met with Art Browse on several different occasions, and that's neither here nor there neither. But when you lose a Ted White, when you lose a Mark, who was my offensive line coach at Cleveland, when you lose those guys, it becomes very different, very, very fast. And the people on defense, again, Coach Thornton is well known in the conference, but at the same time, I had to go find that. It wasn't that I can take somebody who I know, Jay Hayes, who I have a relationship, who we won a ton of games with, and say, Jay, come do this right now, because I couldn't pay him what he deserved. So that makes it difficult.
Now, Coach Jackson, you made a lot of money. I know it wasn't your usual Millie, but you made a lot of money. Could you what I've said, and listen, I'm not here to count your pockets, right? What I've said and what I've noticed in the SWAC is this: you have these head coaches making absorbent amount of money, 330, 350. You know what I'm saying? I think you were making 300,000 or 400,000 or however it came out to be. Why not take the pay cut and then establish and push that money down towards coaches and get their salaries up and maybe go find a guy that you think, because I look at it to me is if it's kind of like a Tom Brady or a Tim Duncan. If I can keep winning, if I can keep the core of what I'm doing, everybody's going to rise.
Boats rise, right?
Boats rise.
So I agree with that. But what you said is I really wish it worked that way. You know, it doesn't just work that way. So my point is, I really wish that first institution would understand what is needed. Okay, let's really talk. The head coach's, contract and money comes out of a whole different pool than the next pool, than the assistants pool. And like you said, whether you raise that pool better or get another pool better, whatever that is, you got to be able to do. But again, if you're going to compete at the best level, you have to pay your talent. I mean, regardless of who it is. And I just think you have to understand that heading in. And to me, that's why you have alumni. That's why you have people who are in love with dear old Grambling, and hopefully they will understand that and create that fun, for coaches, or create that fun for whoever, so that you can get the best of those things there, so that you can, that's just what it should be, in my opinion. Just at the end of the day, it's a hard job. It's a job, and hard in the sense that of the resources, right? I'm not talking about the head coach's pay. Take the money out of it for a second. It's bigger than money. It's big. At the end of the day, all we all want is what's best for our student athletes. You want them to have an unbelievable experience, be part of something great at your university. And an unbelievable experience means a lot of different things for a student athlete. And to me, that's the most important part.
Okay, let me ask you this. I got a couple of people in the chat, but let me ask you this. If there was one resource that you just said, if you had to grab, somebody was giving to you, say, you can get one resource, I'll take care of everything. Like, you pick one. What would be the major one you're like, I gotta have this to make it work, of at an HBCU, or I think HBCU they need to focus on at least getting this resource?
The nutrition piece is everything. I mean, you can do everything you can. These players in off season, they really work extremely hard, but bodies change for the most part during the season because they're not able to maintain the caloric intake that they're used to getting. Because when you're in training camp, you feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When they're in season, they might just get a breakfast. They might just get a lunch, or they might just get it because you have so many guys that are off campus. So again, the guys that are off campus, they don't want to be spending their money to go to the dining hall. They need that money for rent. They need that money for different things, and normally there's a mom and a dad that needs some help too, so that's a struggle. Regardless of how they think about it, that's a struggle for the student athlete that way. And so you got to find a way to feed them.
Wow. One of my subscribers, Quinn, says, how did you feel about the admin not supporting your potential hire of Art Browse, and how did Art Browse come about? Was it already discussed and people gave you the A-OK? Was it like you sprung it on them and they're like, hey, so
I don't think I'm the kind of guy to ever spring anything on anybody, because I think everything has to be collaborative. And we had a conversation, and I couldn't have moved forward without support in the beginning. And then I think, the noise got a little loud, and then, we made a decision that it wasn't going to work. I look back on that time because that was tough, because Ari is somebody I believe in and who would have brought a tremendous following to Grambling State University. And again, I am never going to try to put somebody into a situation that I didn't think fit. So what am I saying? I tried to do all my homework to make sure that everything that was said did not happen, and I was right. that's what's come out. It did not happen. And so I did all my homework to make sure that it was going to be right. I would never want to embarrass the university. I was never trying to do anything to slighten anybody or any former G-man or anything. All I wanted was the best. And that's what I was chasing. And he was willing to do it for what I was going to be able to offer him, because he wanted to be with me and I wanted to be with him. And we thought we could do great things together. But, that didn't work out. But no, I didn't underhand the university. I did not go behind anybody's back to try to sneak our brows in. That was not the case at all.
Now, Coach, are you with this is the thing that for me with HBCU in the draft, and we talked about the draft, where do you think people like you, Dion, Eddie George, how impactful are you guys to talk to those scouts, to talk to those general managers, to talk to those scouting agents and say, I got a guy? Like, I've seen enough NFL ball in my lifetime to tell you that I have a guy. And how important is that pipeline?
I think it's important. I think it's more important than people think. And I think it's more important than maybe some administrators think. Because at the end of the day, some of these young men deserve that opportunity. And if you don't have someone speaking for them, then how do they get it? Because they're already at an HBCU, they're already overlooked. But when a scout comes in that I know, that I've had conversations with before, they're going to ask me the real questions and I'm able to give them the real answers. And they know I'm not doing it just because I want you to take my kid. I'm doing it because he really has the ability to have an opportunity there. And I have seen more guys on campus this year than my first year because there's a more talented team.
Yeah.
There's 2 players, I'll say it, and maybe 3 that was on our team that have a legitimate chance of transitioning there. And that's Sonny Anderson, that's Lewis Matthews, and that's Cedric Anderson. And I think you'll hear from those guys again. And I think what I did was try to create the environment for those scouts to come in and see them at a high level. And now the player has to do it. They have to have the profile that fits, and those guys do, and hopefully they'll get an opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, I know you said you're still into coaching. Is there any possible way that you would slide over to another HBCU, or are you looking to get back into a Power 5 NFL type of situation to kind of be like, I'm good?
When you're coaching, it's all about opportunities, right? And if it's the right opportunity, you got to look at anything and everything. But I've learned a lot about this experience. There's some people that I could help, through this experience, but at the same time, my expertise, the things that I feel very comfortable with, obviously, it's been at the NFL level, and it's been at the college level too. Look, I've recruited 2 Heisman Trophy winners. There's a good quarterback at Grambling State University right now, and a backup that's a really good player. I really believe. So I just think it's, I want to coach football. I think I know how to do it at a high level. I've watched coaches grow. I've watched players grow. And I know how to do that. And so it's what God's given me the ability to do. So I'm going to keep doing it until I can.
Got you. Now, a couple more questions. I'm going to let you go, Coach. Where is the difference between Power 5 and FCS in your opinion, and not just HBCU? Because it really bothers me the delineation of HBCU, knowing it's all D1 FCS. So in your estimation, from what you've seen with your own eyes, what's the real difference between FCS football, Power 5 football, and why is there a lack of drafted players?
Support. Yeah, period. I mean, there's no question in my mind that some of these HBCU teams and this conference could compete with the FCS teams. There's no question in my mind about that. And they just need an opportunity. And to me, the media that's behind it, and the media dollars that is behind it, if they had the same support, we'll be talking about the HBCUs in a whole different space. There's some unbelievable football that's played at the HBCU space. There's some great coaches that are in this space. And I just don't think they get the exposure that the other conferences get. And if they did, we wouldn't be having these conversations. I think what's unfair is we're always talking about at the state level, and waiting for state dollars. I mean, these other schools, they're not waiting for that. They're donor dollars, and there's people who are writing the big checks for them. But why can't we have the big checks written at the HBCU space? And they should. A lot of these schools have some very prominent alumni. And I think there's just the transparency piece. I think people got to feel like that their dollars are going to the right places, and they would. And I think this HBCU space should become a power conference. I've said that. There's several people. I love for some people to go out and find Oprah Winfrey, and all these people, and let them, manage a couple of these schools and put some dollars and some infrastructure in place and give these schools the makeovers they need. Let me tell you, then a lot of these kids wouldn't be going to these Power 5 schools. They'll be coming to the HBCU schools because they want the best of the best as well. And there's some great football, like I said before, being played in this conference.
I'm gonna say this, Coach, and I'm gonna let you go. The one thing I absolutely love about you, Coach, every time I talk to you, there's not an ego thing to you, right? And the one thing that I think some of the SWAC, and I'm not gonna down your counterparts, but just in the general of HBCU coaches in the SWAC, I feel like they don't understand media. And the one thing I've always noticed about you, and I know you've been at the highest level, so you understand criticism.
Mm-hmm.
You understand it comes with the job. How important is coaches understanding the media, podcast space, newspapers, online platforms, and just being more involved in that media space? How much does that help the exposure or the involvement, excitement for the HBCU?
It's so important. I think we need to take the mask off. It's okay for you to be criticized. You're the leader of a program. It comes with the territory, whether good or bad. And nobody should be able to run from that. I know why they do, because they think it hurts their program. But sometimes even the negative talk helps the program, in certain ways. And I think people got to understand this is the new age. It's the new age of podcasts. It's the new age of social media and all of that. And you got to be a real player in that space. Look, my social media has grown on Instagram from 27,000 to over 1.1 million, and I thank all the fans and everybody for that. But at the same time, that's what needed to happen if I was going to help Grambling get to where they needed to be, because that's part of it as well. And you can't run from that. You got to run to it. You got to be a player in that space. It's got to be something you are willing to do all the time, because that is the way you sell your program.
Absolutely, Coach Hugh Jackson. Listen, it has been a pleasure for mine to cover you. I was your first interview when you touched down in the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
I am your last interview when you're leaving. Anything you want to say to the HBCU faithful and the fans and the alums and anything like that?
No, again, I'm just, again, I'm sad I'm not able to finish the job, because I think Grambling State University is right on the cusp of getting back to where it needs to be and having sustainable winning. To all my other brother and coaches that I leave, thank you for the opportunity to compete against you. I wish you nothing but the best. I know there's been a lot of coaches that's been kind of kicked out of this conference this year, and some great men and some great coaches. I hope the programs understand, it can't just be about dollars and cents and sometimes wins and losses, because it's really about the student athlete and it's what they need. Now, we all want to win championships. There's not a coach that sets out to lose. Nobody's trying to lose, but how do you really want to build? And you got to make that decision. Are you going to build with young players? Are you going to build a combination? Are you going to build with older players? I think there's all kind of ways to do it. You got to find what fits for you. And I would say be very transparent with the coaches about what you want and what you need and what you want to accomplish and how you want to accomplish, and then set out to do it. But thank everybody. Thank all the Grambling fans. Thank you. Thank your podcast. Thank everything you're doing in this space. Don't stop. Keep pushing, because I hope someday to see an HBCU on College Game Day every week.
Right.
And it should be that way. And you're going to be sitting up there. You're going to be one of the guys on that podium talking about the HBCU. Because my biggest thing, Scott, is right now today, why can't that happen now?
Thank you, Coach.
They could pick whatever game is the most important game every week, and go set up college game day HBCU style on that campus and have those coaches be a part of it and that school be a part of it. And I guarantee you they'll get as many clicks as any place else across the country.
You got Rock Nation on the phone. You know, just give me a ring. You know, we'll talk offline. Just give me a ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can set that up.
Yes, sir.
We can set that up. No, Coach, I really appreciate it. And I thank you for your innovation. I thank you for the time you've given to the HBCU community. And listen, for your further endeavors, I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
No problem, Coach. Appreciate you.
All righty.
Listen, guys, that's your boy, Coach Hugh Jackson, former head coach from Grambling State University. Listen, man, I mean, when you hear Hugh Jackson talk, you feel that I just love his humility, right? Like, it's one of those guys where you just like I don't know why I like you, but I like you. You get what I'm saying? I don't know why I like you, but I like you. And he just comes off like that. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I really believe it was a bad let go. If you got Connell Maynard out here still with a job, right? You let Texas Southern let Clarence McKinley finish his contract out. That man ain't had a winning season. I don't know how long. You know what I'm saying? You got Alonzo Hampton with one SWAC conference win, right? You got Bethune-Cookman over here praying and hoping for a win. Like, it's so many situations going on in the SWAC to let this man go with 2 years. And I will retract my statement. I've read and understood that his $800K is not guaranteed. It's not a guaranteed $800K. So they wanted to let him go before they were on the hook for the $800K. But to me, it's like, so what was he? So you really gave him? So you pretty much gave him 2 years to build a team, thinking that he was going to come in and be Deion Sanders, knowing you don't have shit for resources. And once again, and I'm not making any excuses because Willie Simmons has to deal with it. You know, probably Alabama State, PV, they all have to deal with the issues of resources. But the situation is a lot of those guys have seen that time and time and time again, so they know how to maneuver through it. You got a head coach, that man don't know what lack of resources look like. It's like when you take a kid from the rich side, you bring him to the poor side, and you got to boil your water to take a bath. I ain't never seen that before, where you got to light candles because you ain't got no lights. I ain't never seen that before, where you got to move your aluminum to get a station. I ain't never seen that before. So you got to give Hugh the time it takes to build. And I do believe that Grambling was trending upwards, but hey, Travion Scott felt they needed a change, and we'll see what that change looks like. But guys, listen, I appreciate all my new members. Make sure you stay tuned, locked in tonight, 8 o'clock, live on the channel. Let me see here. I think if I got it, do I got it? Let me see. Do I got it? Live on the channel. Bucky, Well Off Media here live 8 o'clock, breaking down Colorado is going down. Listen, like I said, no, hey, listen. Don't get mad at me, okay? My name is not HBCU Game Night. It is not HBCU Overbite. It's not HBCU Live nothing, okay? It's Offscript, and we going Offscript with Colorado. So listen, until next time, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to holler. God bless.